Welcome back to Ckatta TechWorld. In part 2 of our Docker interview questions and answers series, we're diving into the more advanced aspects of Docker. If you've mastered the basics from part 1, get ready to take your Docker knowledge to the next level. But before we dive in, remember to support our channel by hitting that like button, sharing this video with your peers, leaving a comment with any questions or feedback, and, of course, subscribing for more tech insights. Now, let's continue our journey with part 2 of Docker interview questions and answers. 1. What is Docker Compose, and how does it simplify multi-container applications? Docker Compose is a tool for defining and running multi-container applications using a YAML file. It simplifies complex application deployments by allowing you to define services, networks, and volumes in a single Compose file. You can start and manage all components of an application with a single command, docker compose up. Example docker compose.yml. Version 3. Services. Web. Image, Nginx, Alpine. App. Image, my app, latest. 2. How can you configure environment variables in a Docker container? You can configure environment variables in a Docker container using the E or env option with the docker run command or by specifying them in a docker compose file. For example, docker run my_variable equals value my image. 3. Describe Docker layering and its implications on image size and caching. Docker uses a layered file system for images, where each instruction in a Docker file creates a new layer. Layers are shared across images, which reduces redundancy and image size. However, if layers change frequently, it can affect caching and increase image size. Best practices include reducing the number of layers and managing the order of instructions to maximize caching. 4. What are the key components of a Docker architecture? A Docker architecture includes the Docker client, Docker daemon, Docker hub, and the container runtime. The Docker client communicates with the Docker daemon to manage containers, images, networks, and volumes. Docker hub is a repository for Docker images, and the container runtime is responsible for running containers. 5. How does Docker Swarm work, and what are its primary features? Docker Swarm is a native Docker orchestration tool. It works by creating a swarm cluster with manager and worker nodes. Key features include service discovery, load balancing, rolling updates, and built-in health checks. Swarm uses the Raft consensus algorithm for high availability. 6. Explain Docker health checks and their importance in container orchestration. Docker health checks are commands or scripts that monitor the health of a container. They help orchestration platforms like Docker Swarm and Kubernetes determine whether containers are running correctly. Health checks ensure that only healthy containers are used in production, reducing downtime and improving reliability. 7. How do you perform rolling updates in Docker Swarm? Rolling updates in Docker Swarm are achieved by updating a service to a new image. Swarm replaces containers incrementally, ensuring that the service remains available. You can use the Docker service update command to update the service with a new image, and the update process can be controlled with flags like update parallelism and update delay. 8. What is the Docker overlay network, and when is it used? The Docker overlay network is used in Docker Swarm clusters to enable communication between containers on different hosts. It is an overlay network that spans multiple nodes and provides secure, encrypted communication. Overlay networks are useful for applications that require multi-host communication, such as microservices. 9. How can you ensure security in Docker containers, and what best practices should be followed? Security in Docker containers can be ensured by following best practices such as using official images, keeping images and packages up to date, limiting container permissions, using user namespaces, network segmentation, read-only file systems, security scanning, and proper access controls. 10. Describe the concept of Docker security scanning and its significance. Docker security scanning is a feature that scans container images for known security vulnerabilities and issues. It is essential for identifying and mitigating potential security risks before deploying containerized applications. Security scanning detects vulnerabilities and helps organizations maintain a secure container environment. Thank you for joining us in part 2 of Docker interview questions and answers. We hope you found these advanced Docker topics enlightening and valuable for your containerization journey. If you have any questions or need further clarification on any of the topics we've covered, please don't hesitate to ask in the comments below. Your support by liking, sharing, and subscribing keeps us motivated to create more content for you. Stay tuned for Part 3, where we'll explore Docker orchestration and its significance in large-scale applications. Until then, keep containerizing, and we'll see you in the next episode.